A very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of VOGAN'S European Outlook for the 27th of March. What a difference 12 years makes. This was a video I actually captured back on this very day, on the 27th of March 2012, and it was in the midst of the Scotland's most impressive March heatwave. What a difference 12 years makes, because in moderate to high ground we are talking about snow today, gusty winds, and temperatures ranging between 2 Celsius in the north and 9 Celsius in the south. This was the actual high temperature recorded during this period of time, and it was actually on this very day back in 2012 that Scotland recorded a high of 23.6 Celsius at Aboyne in Aberdeenshire, making it Scotland's hottest March day in recorded history. Now, this, by the way, is some of the memories back on this day, 2012. And one thing I wanted to actually point out to you was this visible satellite. An incredible image indeed of almost completely, well, it is actually completely clear skies. I was going to say almost. We've got a little bit of high cloud, almost just kind of skirting the wash, just off the east coast of England. But we've got crystal clear skies, strong high pressure at that. And this is a very different satellite image captured at this time of recording, which is just after 4 p.m. in the afternoon. We've got a low pressure system centered just to the west of Ireland, and we've actually got pressure down at 957 millibars, gusty winds, cold rain. These are the current temperatures at the time of recording as well. You can see here only 1 Celsius, 0.8 Celsius to be exact, at Aviemore, and we're clinging on to 12.4 at Weybourne on the Norfolk coast. This is the current wind chills as well this afternoon. You can see here sub-freezing wind chills across the north, clinging on to mid to high single figure rail field temperatures further south. So what a contrast between now and back this day 12 years ago. Now, also to let you know, upcoming Friday, Good Friday, 8 p.m. live stream. It is a Easter special, and I'm going to be talking about all things weather for the hour between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. So if you're free, if you're bored, it would be great for you to be able to join us on the live stream. Drop a comment, I'll give you a shout out, and also answer a couple of questions as well. So that is going to be this upcoming Friday. I will leave a link in the description below for the video. So why are we seeing such a big contrast between now and 12 years ago? March can be a very, very fickle month. You can get summer-like weather like we've seen 12 years ago, but we also can get March 2013, where we've seen bitterly cold conditions, 10 to 15 foot snow drifts, beasts from the east, temperatures below freezing by day, and struggling to get anywhere near the freezing mark. But you can also get 22, 23, 25 Celsius in southern portions of the UK during the month of March as well. It is one of those classic months, those classic transition months, where you can actually get summer-like conditions or midwinter conditions. But we've rotated through the warm phases of the MJO. So this is the MJO chart, obviously. And you can see that we've now rotated right the way through phases 7, 8, and into 1. And this is an amplified state, which means that we have influence on the mid to high latitude pattern. And lo and behold, there's no consequence, or there's no, not consequence, there is no surprise. That's the word that I'm trying to get at. There's no real surprise that the North Atlantic Oscillation is dipping to the most negative it's been, arguably, since even before the cold spell in the middle of January, back earlier at the start of the year here. We've actually got levels predicted to go slightly below the negative that was seen in January. And this was also following the phase 7, 8 into 1 of the MJO as well. We've seen it back at the end of November, coinciding with the stratospheric warming, and we're seeing it right now with the MJO rotating through those cold phases. Now, Incidentally, 10 days ago we were seeing some fairly mild conditions, nowhere near on par with 12 years ago, but we were seeing some fairly mild temperatures. And the month overall of 2024 March is going to be firmly warmer than average. The reason why is because we rotated through phases 4 and 5. We've seen it in December, we've seen it in January, and even though it was favourable during the month of February, I think the El Nino really did take hold and actually shut down the influence of the Madden-Julian oscillation, I think, during the month of February. So late January through the month of February, we really did see the SOI index tank. What's the SOI? Southern Oscillation Index. That is when the atmosphere responds with the warmer than average sea surface temperatures over the central and eastern Pacific. By the atmosphere responding, it then forces the El Nino influence to then almost ripple effect across the entire planet. We've seen a very, very warm February as a consequence of that over North America and over Europe. But we are seeing some very interesting things going on with that phase 7 into 8 into 1 in an amplified way. That then forces pressure to build over the high latitudes, Arctic region, over Greenland, over the North Atlantic. What does that mean? What does that do? It forces the jet stream further south. And you can see here in this latest run of the GFS operational, this is a chart I was actually meaning to show you yesterday, showing very strong jet stream across the southern United States. As you can see, we've also got an arm of the jet over eastern Canada here. There's a very tight pressure gradient, or not so much pressure, but actually a very tight temperature gradient between north and south. Very milder to the south of the jet, very colder to the north of the jet, forces the strengthening of that jet stream. Then we've got an area of low pressure. We've got a trough over the eastern side of the North Atlantic. As that jet then starts to push energy away from North America across the North Atlantic, it then forces, with this dip here, this area of low pressure that's centered just to the west of Ireland and the UK to then rapidly deepen. And as that air mass then piles up, we see the center of the low deepening, and that is why we've got this orientation of jet stream at the moment. So we've had this almost this kind of push of air out of North America across the North Atlantic, and with this dip here, because we've got higher pressure over the mainland of Europe, the air has got nowhere to go, so it then is forced to then drop into the trough. So you can kind of visualize all this air kind of pulling away from North America, forced by that large temperature gradient between Canada and points further south. That then forces the jet stream to strengthen. But then if we've got this kind of piling up of air over and just to the west of the UK here in that deep trough, it then forces the air to pile up, and therefore it deepens the area of low pressure. So this is the current pressure chart here of Meteoseal, and you can see that we've got this 956 millibar area of low pressure, about a couple of 100 miles west of Ireland here, and we've got some pretty low heights all the way across the UK and Ireland as a consequence of this here. So very interesting things going on at the moment here. There's no question about that. If you haven't already done so, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and you will not miss future content. You'll also not miss the live stream, hopefully this upcoming Friday night. I'm quite excited about talking about all different things. It's not just going to be about the UK and Ireland. We're going to talk a little bit about the global weather stuff as well. So there's going to be a bit of a global weather report that's traditionally done on a Sunday. Going to throw in a little bit of that. We're going to talk about past Easters, the extremes that we've seen over the course of an Easter weekend. Obviously, Easter fluctuates anywhere from late March to late April. This is quite an early Easter this year. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to look at some of the prospects for the April forecast, talk about the overall Easter weekend and the weather that we can expect through the remainder of the Easter weekend. And we'll talk about a few other aspects as well. So certainly I'm pretty excited to bring you the live stream at 8 o'clock on Friday night. So you can see here as we continue to play through, we've actually got two arms of jet stream winds. Now remember, the MJO and the stratospheric warming that took place 2 weeks ago, this is now the atmosphere responding to that forcing both within the tropics as well as within the stratosphere. The jet stream is getting forced further south. Therefore, we see a lot of weather moving into Spain, Portugal, central southern portions of Europe as well. We've also got a very strong jet stream crossing over the Canaries at the moment. That's quite interesting. But this is actually two branches of jet stream winds. One is the southern branch. That is a subtropical jet. We've also got the polar jet, which is well to the south, if you notice here. And this is all due to the consequence of that MJO and sudden stratospheric warming. So you can see here as we continue to play through this loop, this is now Good Friday, and we've got the coming together of jet stream winds anywhere from the Azores all the way down towards the Cape Verde Islands here. So very, 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 very forced south jet. This is a very southerly displaced jet. But one thing I would say to you is that this is not an overly unusual thing to see during the mid to late springtime when you've got that final stratospheric warming taking place. That then quite often leads to blocking during the mid to late springtime. You can sometimes get cold spells during the month of April. You can equally get some fairly decent warm spells also. But we're at a time at the moment, late March into early April, where we're seeing this southward displaced jet explained already with what I've already mentioned. But you can see here that we continue to see through the Easter weekend this very, very far south jet stream here, incredibly far south actually, because you're almost reaching down towards the tropics. Even here further west over the North Atlantic, you can see here this jet core. Oops, sorry about that. You can see this jet core extending all the way down pretty far south. So we've still got an area of low pressure over the UK here. If you notice, it's well to the west, southwest of the UK and Ireland. Now, the key to this position of low pressure means that we're essentially kind of almost holding back the cold air that is ganging up within the Arctic. Now, remember the strong Greenland block that develops, indicative of what I've already explained. What you would often see with this is bitterly cold air getting driven south over the UK and Ireland. We're not seeing that as much because we've got a very strong, deep area of low pressure in this position to the west of the UK and Ireland. So therefore, we're actually seeing milder conditions getting lifted north and resisting that southward progress of cold air into the UK and Ireland. So despite the fact that we've got a very deep negative North Atlantic oscillation, as you can see here, we've got the MJO forcing, we've got the stratospheric warming likely influencing this as well, but we simply do not have the cold air coming south. And this has really been a story of the overall winter, I think, just gone actually, is the fact that some of the ingredients have all came together quite nicely, but we've simply not seen the response within the mid to high latitude pattern. Let's have a look and see if we can bring up here the temperature anomalies for the upcoming 5 days of the GFS ensemble here. It is currently updating, but I can try and bring up a slightly older version here. So this is the upcoming 5 day period. That's quite interesting here. So we've actually got warmer than average conditions across the bulk of England, Wales. We've got slightly colder than average across Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Very warm conditions Central and Eastern Europe. We'll look at this in a couple of days, by the way. Very mild conditions getting lifted north and east. Colder conditions across Spain and Portugal. We've got Storm Nelson, named by the AE Met Service as the Spanish Met Service, due to an area of low pressure that is going to swing through during the upcoming Easter weekend. But actually, we're going to start to see a drying theme through the course of this upcoming Easter weekend, and actually slightly warmer temperatures. We're going to pick up more of a kind of south to southeasterly airflow and dragging in off a relatively mild Europe. That means we're going to import some warmer temperatures over the next few days. Certainly is chilly at the moment, but we are going to see slightly milder conditions develop. Now you notice here that we've got this battleground developing as we move into week 1 of April. Colder, trying to descend south over the UK, but it's coming up against resistance of that warmth coming up from the south. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. Area of low pressure, position west-southwest of the UK, that is allowing some of this warmer air to resist that southbound cold air coming down. So therefore we have got this real battle, tug of war, and it looks as if the GFS ensemble actually has the mild winning out. Another thing that I want to mention to you, by the way, is it'll be interesting to see if this MJO can rotate back into phases 4 and 5. If it does so, it may actually lead to a warm spell sometime during the middle portions of April. Keep an eye on this actually as we go forward, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. So, finally, want to look at one or two little aspects here. This is a couple of retweets that I did an hour or so ago, and looking at what's going on. So this is actually a tweet by the Met Office showing some very significant Saharan dust. We've got an area of low pressure over southern Europe that is actually drawing some of this Saharan dust off Libya, over the Mediterranean and into Italy, Greece, possibly into Turkey, possibly into Central Europe as well. And this is nothing overly unusual, but I thought it was noteworthy enough to show you that. And I also wanted to show you some of the wintry scenes that we're seeing over parts of the UK. This was a scene captured by Leah Highland Weather a wee while ago, showing a beautiful snowscape in Carbridge near Aviemore this afternoon. So yeah, we've got a beautiful wintry scene in several parts of the country. This is actually Weardale or Weardale in County Durham, captured by Paul Kingston over the higher ground here. So we've got several areas of the UK that are seeing lion snow. This was actually a tweet by Willie Mossop, based in Strathpeffer, showing the UK's highest beach. This is actually just outside Aviemore at Loch Morlock this afternoon. Beautiful wintry scenes here, and even down towards Exmoor and Dartmoor. This was a capture here from Cornwall skies of heavy snowfall in the Dartmoor area of southwestern England this afternoon, or earlier this morning, in fact, I think it was. And I think there was a covering of snow over Exmoor and Dartmoor also. So anywhere from southwestern England all the way up to the north of the UK, we have seen snow falling this afternoon. And already said before, this is the current temperatures across the UK, feeling rather chilly. Only 1s and 2s Celsius across the north, 8s, 9s, 10 if you're lucky across southern areas of the British Isles this afternoon, milder across the continent. Let's have a look and see actually at what the current temperatures are over the continent. You can see here that some of the cold air that we had mid-minus 30s actually in parts of northern Norway in recent days, we're actually seeing the temperatures warming up here. But look at Europe, very mild conditions across the majority of the continent at the time of recording. Cooler conditions, notice across Iberia where we had mid-30s, 33 degrees in parts of southern Spain in recent days as well here. So we are going to see a shock to the system when it comes to this neck of the woods. This is the current pressure cloud precipitation chart of the latest run of the GFS, and you can actually see the massive area of low pressure that is affecting hundreds of miles, anywhere from southeastern Iceland all the way down to parts of Morocco, believe it or not. So that is a massive envelope of low pressure that is influencing at the moment. And this is the reason why the Spanish Met Service has named Storm Nelson, because what actually happens is we've got the center of that low drifting south towards the Bay of Biscay, but we've also got the development of a new area of low pressure as it dips and reaches the base of the trough. Then as we move into Thursday and Friday and Saturday, the Easter weekend, we've got a lot of weather moving off the Atlantic, colder at that, So we could have a mixture of flood and rain, hail, damaging thunderstorms, and also heavy snowfall over the high ground as well. Could have even blizzard conditions over the Sierra Nevada mountains, for example. So a lot of weather is going to be piling in anywhere from the UK and Ireland all the way down into southern and southwestern Europe, northwestern Africa. I mean, how often do you see a 989 millibar low moving through the Algarve and across southern Spain? It doesn't happen all that often. So this is going to be a good thing, especially for the drought areas of southwestern Europe in the coming days. And then eventually, as we move towards the first few days of April, strong area of high pressure across the north, a lot of low pressure, a lot of messy conditions through the subtropical Atlantic, southern Europe. It is a messy picture, and it's all thanks to that strong area of high pressure across the north, forcing all that weather to the south. So yeah, plenty of things going on. Keep it right here on Marfogan Weather on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you hopefully again tomorrow with more. Bye.